Hello, my name is Gilday Ryan, and today I'm going to present a detailed overview of a unique and relatively new form of currency called Bitcoin. First, I will highlight the concept and origins of currency in general. Next, I will explain exactly what Bitcoin is and why it differs from traditional currency, and I will provide instructions on how to establish an account with Bitcoin. Finally, I will talk about groups that are uncomfortable with Bitcoin's rise. First, we're going to talk about conventional currency. Let's start with its origins. Nowadays, the concept of currency, better known as money, is neither new nor complicated. Someone does a job, gets paid money for it, and gives that money to someone else in exchange for a product in their possession or inventory. This concept was first invented thousands of years ago as a replacement for the idea of bartering. This refers to the practice of trading one possession for another. That system of exchanging gold for goods worked until it became apparent that carrying all the gold one might need to spend was heavy and uncomfortable. On top of that, it was difficult at best to pay the exact value of something costing less than 1 bar of gold. Governments started printing paper they called money. The governments would keep track of all the gold in their respective countries. The public were able to give a bill worth only the amount the product they wanted cost. And here's where we tie into the title of Bitcoin. Let's start with its fundamentals, shall we? Governments and banks have the financial information of nearly everyone. Many citizens are opposed to how centralized all of this information is. In 2009, a decentralized currency finally appeared to be within the public's grasp. An anonymous entity going only by Satoshi Nakamoto used the internet to launch an independent digital money supply known as Bitcoin into circulation. Similar to a credit or debit card, Bitcoins are not physical objects. They can only be used to buy things by transferring digital code through a computerized device, such as the internet. Where the similarities between Bitcoin and previous digital currency systems would end is that credit and debit cards, as stated earlier, are still under the jurisdiction of the government, no different than paper money. Bitcoin, on the other hand, has no outside force facilitating any of the purchases made with it, not even Satoshi Nakamoto. The only people with any control over Bitcoin are the buyers and the sellers. All that is truly needed to use Bitcoin is a special software that is available for download. As simple as that? Not really. So here is a step-by-step instruction manual on how to install Bitcoin. Let's illustrate how a beginner would get started. Meet Winslow, who would like very much to buy his nephew a special rare DVD. He's found one for what appears to be the equivalent of 1,000 US dollars. It would appear Bitcoin is Winslow's last hope, as that is the only acceptable currency on the website selling the DVD. He has a computer with an internet connection, so he's on the right track so far. Next, Winslow heads to the App Store and downloads the app known as Coinbase. After clicking the Sign Up button, Winslow enters his contact information and he sees a button with the word Buy. Now comes the money part. Bitcoin behaves like stock. The value and the price of Bitcoins change drastically in literal seconds based on the amount of demand. At present, one Bitcoin is worth almost $5,500, but it's possible to buy fractions of Bitcoins. So, by paying $1,000, Winslow obtains 18% of a Bitcoin, the price of the DVD. His nephew is sure to have a happy birthday. So who runs Bitcoin? Surely it must have its own workforce, being its own alternate currency and all, right? As indeed it does. Some might try to take advantage of the Bitcoin system by falsely claiming that they have more Bitcoins than they actually do. But all Bitcoin transactions are stored in a computer, viewable by all Bitcoin owners, but governments do not have jurisdiction. These are designed by miners, Bitcoin's employees, in exchange for Bitcoins of their own. Another perk with the Bitcoin software is that it displays the transaction details, but not the identities of the people involved with it on either side. To end things off, let's take a look at the few people, well, more than few, that don't think that Bitcoin is a dream come true. Bitcoin has many influential supporters, including Microsoft, Expedia, and Wikipedia, to name but a few. All of them accept Bitcoins as a method of payment, but not everyone is singing its praises. Bitcoin's loudest critics are, unsurprisingly, governments the world over. Not only are they fearful that Bitcoin might do more harm to investors than good, but the anonymity of everyone who uses Bitcoin makes it trickier to trace financial criminal activity, most notably money laundering, which is a legal term meaning covering up that money was obtained illegally. These fears proved to have grounds with the success of Silk Road, a now defunct website where drugs were sold. When it was still in operation, the founder was heard to have remarked that Bitcoin was a key factor in its success. Politicians are not the only ones that distrust Bitcoin. The second most influential naysayer Bitcoin has to contend with is essentially every bank on the planet. If Bitcoin becomes the new standard for currency, it is entirely plausible that the very concept of a bank could become obsolete. Not to mention that banks employ a lot of people, all of whom will be out of a job. Even ordinary people who have nothing to do with banks professionally will be negatively affected by the bank closures, regardless of whether or not they have a Bitcoin account. They'll have no one to help them with technical glitches and no source of interest. Even without the threat of replacing banks with Bitcoin and not even filling every single void, suffice to say that much of the general public is also suspicious of this new cryptocurrency, and for good reason. An extremely common issue that comes with Bitcoin is hackers. As stated earlier, banks help their clients address technical glitches, a common example being someone sabotaging their mortgage payment. Even more common is Bitcoin itself being hacked, despite its complex network. In conclusion, while Bitcoin may sound like the way of the future, like any alleged dream product, it would be more advisable to weigh the pros and cons as opposed to buying impulsively.